Spoiler Sleepover is sponsored by Willow Tree Kitchen.
Willow Tree Kitchen is a one-woman owned and operated bakery currently slinging delicious vegan cookies, mixes, and baked goods out of Kitchen Local in Amesbury, Mass.
Follow Willow Tree Kitchen _ on Instagram or go to their website at willowtreekitchen.com for more.
Greetings, ladies, gents, and our non-binary friends. Welcome to Spoiler Sleepover, part of the Nerdcast Network. Join your hosts, Jason, Michael, and Rob, as they bring you on a slash-tastic adventure through cinema. Now, enjoy the show. It will be a real scream of a time.
Welcome back, everybody, to Spoiler Sleepover. I'm Rob.
I'm Jason Michael.
2024 edition, aka it's still slime season. It's still season 2, but
only in 2024.
Yeah. But we are back on our top 3s. Man,
Ooh.
I mean, it was great to do The Invisible Man, and it was great to take that nice little December winter break and do some freezing cold horror Winterland stuff. But I'm really happy that we're going to get back into talking about the movies that, like, we genuinely, like, love. Like, if we could put a ring on it, we love them. I'm amped. I'm amped to get into this, especially this week's episode. But we'll wait to say what it is. Even though you already know. All right, so this is the second episode of the new year, and that means the second What's Been Keeping Us Up at Night. So, Jason Michael.
Yay! Well, so this week I have been, of course, continuing with my ever-continuing watch-along of Metalocalypse. There's nothing wrong with that show, and eventually, maybe, we'll talk about it, but I will not talk your ear off too much until I just do. It'll happen.
Yeah.
Other than that, continuing with Banshee, I have fallen back in love with that show. Anthony Starr is such a tremendous actor. And, like, I would love to see his Homelander and his Sheriff Hood side by side with each other and just see how they would interact.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Homelander would fucking kill him because he's a superhero laser god. But at the same point, just, like, seeing those two at least talk to each other would be very interesting and astounding.
Yeah.
I definitely have enjoyed getting back into streaming. So far, we've only had about 2.5 streams. I'll count the half because Ryan and I were, or Mr. Cyrene, we were playing Tabletop Simulator Horrified, the board game. And then we went back into our ever classic Phasmophobia. And then the next day, I played some of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. And a lot of things did not go well in that, but some things went A-okay. Other than that, brand new, speaking about Horrified, I have the Horrified game, which has, of course, Universal Monsters. I have the second edition, which has American monsters, which are cryptids like Bigfoot, the Banshee of the Badlands, the Ozark Howler, Mothman, Chupacabra, Jersey Devil. And now they have Horrified Greek monsters.
Oh, dope.
So monsters of mythology. There's the Minotaur, Cerberus, Medusa, Basilisk. I'm very, very excited to hop into that and just play it.
That's
because
awesome.
Yeah, no, like, I love board games. It's definitely something that Rob and I have been talking about, is doing something with board games, whether it be virtual or in person, but board games rule.
Yeah, they do.
All right,
They
Rob.
kick ass. All
What
right,
has been
so
keeping you up?
per usual, I've got a bit of a list too. Actually, I think we're neck and neck. We both have 4. So, because I'm counting your streaming as one. So
That's fair. That's fair.
Just at the top, I'm going to say it right away, but fuck Netflix. But I watched 2 movies on Netflix. Yeah, that's right. And I watched them back to back because
You wanted to get it done. You wanted to be like, all right, bye, see you Netflix.
pretty much, yeah. So I finally watched Leave the World Behind.
Oh,
everybody and their mother has been hating on that movie so much. And
I didn't hate it. It was
you're the reason why I was like, you know what? If Jason Michael enjoyed it for what it was, then maybe I can find something enjoyable also in it.
I'm glad you got past your Beau is Afraid.
And dude, I loved it. Like at the end of the movie, I was just like, yes, this is exactly how this movie needed to end. There's no other way to end that movie.
There's no resolve.
No, according to my brother, the because it's based on a book, the book has there are different major differences, including the ending. But he compared the ending for the movie to the ending for Stephen King, The Fog or The Mist.
The Mist. Motherfucker. No, so again, like I said on last week's What's Gonna Be Keeping Us Up at Night, I watched this with my roommates and we had the conversation after of just like, that was fucking weird. And I go, it reminds me of the ending of The Mist. And Charlie goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So my brother made that comparison. So,
wow.
I mean, if y'all haven't watched it yet because you've been hearing all the shit talking about it, like, dude, form your own opinion. Like, use your
Seriously.
own head, use your own brain. It was really enjoyable. I really liked the fact that the entirety of the movie, you're just on the edge of your seat, like, where is this going? And then all of a sudden, the end happens, and you're like, oh shit.
So, did you enjoy the camera angle that I was talking about? The one where it's like you kind of have to just go, "What the hell?"
Yeah. So here's the thing: there was a lot of really cool camera work. Well, bringing it back to last week's episode with the Invisible Man, they move from inside to outside of the house so many times, like going through like above windows, and you actually get to see the framework. And I was just like, this is dope. And, like, including that one where they go from like the first floor to the third floor.
Yeah.
And you get to see in between floors with like, oh man, I was like this.
I was honestly half expecting to see like a little gag in there like The Simpsons does or Family Guy when they go underground where it's just like a skeleton or it's like a T-Rex.
I
was half expecting
a mouse or something, but
nah, that's a clean house right there.
Yeah, buddy, it is. No, the movie was great. Then right after that, I needed a palate cleanser, so I ended up finally getting around to watching They Cloned Tyrone, and it's a lot of fun.
Jamie Foxx, maybe?
Yeah, Jamie Foxx is in it. He plays a pimp. Yeah, it's a little crazy, but it's also got a lot of heart. I doubt they actually filmed on film, but it's got like this old like 70s film grain feel to the entirety of the movie.
Okay.
You can't really tell what era it's in because it's like 70s meets 80s meets 90s meets present day. It's like technology is like some characters have flip phones, some have like iPhones. The style is completely different from character to character too.
They're in Hipsterville.
It was really good though. I highly recommend. And Sunday night, my partner and I ended up watching a movie. This is on Paramount Plus right now called Jules. And if you're looking for a feel-good movie with a premise that's been done a million times, I highly recommend this movie. I cried. It's very good. Short premise is an elderly man who lives alone, takes in an alien after their spaceship, the alien spaceship crashes in his backyard. That's all I'll say about the movie. It is, man, it's so good, but it hits on a topic that hits really close to home for me. So I ended up crying a couple of times. It's really good. So, and then my final thing, we watched something similar. I started Banshee.
Yeah, dude. Yes.
When you brought it up last week, I was like, man, this has been on my long list for a while.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can actually talk to somebody about this shit now. Hell yeah.
So my thought process was, all right, I got you to watch Reacher. I'll start Banshee. So
okay, all right. Fair play.
But okay, I have one complaint about the show, and then we'll move past it.
Okay.
There is an obscene, and I mean obscene, amount of nudity and sex in this show.
Oh yeah,
so,
pretty much. There's at least 1 to 2 scenes every episode.
Dude, the first episode starts with a sex scene. Like, that's how the show opens. Yes. I was just like, yo.
Yes, it does.
we're starting here. I was like, all right. I mean, like, it is Cinemax, so I don't know what I was expecting walking into it. But
it gets really in there real quick.
Pun intended?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on episode 6 of season 1.
You're like 2 behind me right now, I think.
Dude, it's so good. Like all the characters.
Here's the thing, though. Does it feel like you're watching a movie an episode? Because they always feel long to me.
100%. They feel really long, but as soon as an episode ends, I'm like, what? No, like
I want more.
Feed me more. And that's they did it so well. Where it's some of the episodes, I think it was episode 3, seemed like it crawled ass. Like I was like, dude, let's just move this along.
Yeah.
But then the payout at the end was worth it. And I was like, all right, this is really good. So far, my favorite episode just in season 1, I don't want to spoil it for anybody out there who hasn't watched it yet, but the biker episode.
Ooh.
Holy shit. That episode.
I love that episode. I think, is episode 3 the one with the boxer?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. First off, that's a dark premise for that entire episode. And watching the fight at the end was tough. Because, like, I know what he was going for. And, like, scrappy as he may be, damn, dude. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And who was going to win? Nobody knew.
Say hi to the new boss.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So that's what's been keeping us up at night. And if you're not watching Banshee, I don't know what you're doing with your life right now. Hit us up on Instagram or jump over and hit us up on our Facebook, because we're now on Facebook. As much as I am opposed to Facebook, I said, you know what? It's not fair to those of us who listen and don't have Instagram. So we're on Facebook. Please give us a follow on there. If you're following us on Instagram, if you know somebody who would love the podcast but doesn't have Instagram and wants to follow us and be up to date on everything, hey, they're on Facebook now. Follow them on Facebook. You guys can message us on there. Just let us know what's been keeping you up at night.
Just don't poke us.
Too hard. I'll poop.
Oh.
Leave it in. We introduced a brand new segment last week for the new year called Earworm, where we're just each of us are going to pick an album from an artist and just suggest it. It's whatever we're currently listening to, something that we just absolutely love and adore. And I'm really excited to get into week 2 of the new year for our earworms. Jason Michael, what is your earworm for this week?
My earworm is not actually an album, but a few songs in particular from an artist.
I swear to God, if you say Death Clock.
No. Little underground band called Death Clock. Man, it would have gotten you right there. It would have been great. No, it's from a artist named Delicate Steve. It's very vibey, very chilly. There's a song called I Can Fly Away, where it's just, you can sit and you can relax. You can just read a book or just chill and watch the snow fall like we're doing right now in New Hampshire.
Boy, are we.
It's not what I thought it would be outside for snow right now, but also I checked last night at midnight and it was, a couple flakes in the sky, and woke up this morning. It's like, fuck, all right, Jesus.
So what would you call, like, you said it's chill, but like in what genre or mixture of genres?
It's like alternative or indie.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's got like that little clip-cloppy percussion kind of in the background, just hanging out.
It's kind of like city folk. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Delicate Steve.
Delicate Steve. It's a very
The name is also
name.
just really funny.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to throw it all the way back. Seeing as we're once again throwing it back movie-wise, way back in the years, I'm going to be throwing it back music-wise to 1965.
Ooh.
The past week, I have been on a Smokey Robinson and the Miracles kick. I've been
Nice.
listening to a ton of them, and Archie Bell and the Drells. Like, I'm a huge Archie Bell fan. But I've been listening to Going to the Go-Go, that specific album by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. I absolutely adore the album. There isn't a bad song on the album. It's just so damn good. It's so well-rounded. I'm a huge soul and funk fan, too. So, like, I listen to a lot of hardcore and a lot of metal and all of those subgenres of that. But I mean, honestly, if you went through my record collection, you'd be like, this is a lot of soul and funk and a ton of Prince, because I fucking love Prince. But yeah. I've been listening to just Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, but Going to the Go-Go, fantastic album. I mean, the album starts off strong with Tracks of Tears. Such a great song, heartbreaking and sad, but beautiful song. So yeah, that's our earworms for the week. Let us know what you've been listening to. What's the earworm that's been just digging its way into your brain all week? Hit us up on our Instagram and let us know. And if you actually say something, we'll give you a shout out and suggest the album for other listeners.
Now that we've finished those, it's time to move on to a little creeping it.
I've got a good one for us this week, too, and it's not going to be controversial. There's not going to be a huge conversation over it. It's just really exciting. There's 2 titles for this teaser trailer that's come out. I have seen multiple different articles call it different things, so I'll just give both titles. I'll give you the first title I saw for this movie that's coming out and the second title afterwards. But it's a new Nicolas Cage thriller called Longlegs, or That's Not My Daughter. I'm really hoping it's Longlegs, but the teaser trailer just shows a photo of a mother, father, and a daughter, and some weird symbols flashing on the screens real quick. And then the end of the trailer is just like a top view photo of really long legs, and then it doesn't say the title. It's all of the symbols that were flashing on the screen lined up as if it says something, and then the teaser ends. But it is Nicolas Cage, and he's not... Yeah, he's not in the photos, but he is an actor in the movie. So yeah, that's my Creeping It Real for the week. I thought it was interesting. It was cool to see. I love it when Nick Cage does horror. They're labeling this as a thriller, but I mean, everything I'm getting from the teaser, because it's just a teaser that's out now, there's no information attached to it. But what I'm getting from it is it looks more like creepypasta horror. Not, you know what I mean? Like, it's
not like actual horror.
I mean, arguably, I think some of the creepypastas that exist are more horrifying than some of the more recent, like, big name horror movies that people are, like, creaming their pants over. Conjuring bullshit and all that jazz. But, yeah, Black-Eyed Children, good stuff. Slenderman, good stuff.
Rob, this week we are staying back in the era of black and white silver screen movies, and we are going just a few years down the road from our 1933 Invisible counterpart. We are going to the year of our Lord and Savior, Abbott and Costello. Yes, both of them. It's Lord and Savior. Who's which? Nobody knows. Either way,
Costello is our savior. Let's be real.
But Abbott's our Lord?
Yeah, I mean, he's got lord-like things about him, like a British lord. He's very regal and a bit of a prick.
It's very pompous. Either way, whichever one you'll have it, 1951's Abbott and Costello meet the Invisible Man. This took place 3 years after the previous Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's monster.
Either way,
that's right.
But the movie begins with a title sequence, not quite along the same animations as Meets Frankenstein, but it's definitely still animated, of course, with little funny bits of, hey, there's a man right next to Abbott and Costello. All of a sudden, he's invisible. Woo!
Ooh.
But, I mean, it's animated, but it's stills. It's not like actual cartoons moving around or making sound. So, I mean, it's good. It's good. We get the start of the movie. It opens with feet traveling up an aisle. We got somebody doing a little skip. Costello's do a funny walk out to the pomp and circumstance that's not actually happening, and tries to sit down on the stage in the chairs with the rest of his graduating classmates, and misses the fucking stage entirely.
Of course he does.
It's a solid thud. Just a solid, absolute thud. So he gets back up on stage and he's talking with Bud as the entire audience gets up and starts singing their detective song or their alma mater, I guess it might be.
Yeah, it's definitely the alma mater song.
So they get up and Costello's like, never thought I would get here. Never thought this day would come. How did I even graduate? And Abbott goes, I slipped the guy $20. And then he just looks at the camera and goes, oh. Like, this movie is full of fourth wall breaks from Costello. Like,
so much.
You thought the like couple in Meets Frankenstein was a lot. Damn, you have no friggin' clue. It's a very quick scene, but it's also really just funny. Like, there's a couple jabs here and there, a lot of camera work. The guy who's presenting out the diplomas says, you studied well and learned hard. And he looks right at Costello and goes, most of you.
Most of you.
He hands out the diplomas. One goes to Abbott first, and he explains the whole thing of he's going to be like a private eye, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. He's getting some sort of special, like, actual job, and then he calls up Costello and just hands him the thing. No celebrations, just get away. Go away.
Get out of here.
Yeah. We get a super cool transition to Costello looking at his diploma, and then all of a sudden it's on the wall, and he's looking at it with a magnifying glass with like the giant bubble pipe and the Sherlock Holmes cap.
Take that ridiculous hat off.
They're talking about all the cases they're going to solve. What can they solve? And it's like, we could even solve a case with a murderer. And as soon as they say that, in just rushes a murderer, spins around, closes the door, turns off the lights, and they're like, oh. I wish I hadn't said that. Walks across the room, closes the curtains there, basically walks in like he fucking owns the place. And he comes in and just like, I want to hire you guys for a job. And he's like, okay, sure. It pays. Okay, perfect. We'll do it. And the radio comes on, starts talking about escaped murder suspect, Tommy Nelson. And then Costello looks over at the man who just came in, explains, last seen wearing a trench coat and a soft, like, green hat.
It was a felt hat, yeah.
Yeah, a felt hat. And Costello's like, hey, bud. Hey, Bud. And meanwhile, Bud, being the ever clueless one in these movies that he is, just looking around like, better commit that description to memory for later. And Costello the whole time is like, he's right there. He's right there. Like, he's crawling under the table looking at him with a magnifying glass and just like freaking out when he just looks back at him. Costello keeps saying that's Tommy Nelson. Abbott doesn't believe him. Tommy makes a call and calls to Helen, who we later come to find out is Tommy's gal. That's his gal, you see. She's going to get the doctor ready for when he gets there to help explain stuff.
Right.
And then Costello and Abbott have to follow Tommy now and bring him to 823 Maple. But before, the clock just, like, dings. And the clock dings at, like, fucking 8:30. Why? I don't know a clock that goes off at 8:30, especially one that sounds like a fight bell. But the bell rings at 8:30, and it sounds like a fight bell. So Tommy naturally gets into like a boxing stance. It scares the crap out of Costello. They go to 823. They linger on the sign for quite some time. They get out of the car to head up to the house, and Costello gets out with a flashlight, and he's pointing at the flashlight down. And he's just like, it's so dark, I can't see a thing. Abbott just flips it up, and it's shining on the house as the shape of a bat, and he's just, he's like, it's just a little moth right on the end of the lens.
I love
Get in the fucking house, Costello. They go in. Tommy goes in, and Abbott and Costello go into another room. He's like, you wait here. I'll come back to get you soon. They go, okay. Tommy goes upstairs with Helen and meets the doctor, who just starts explaining the whole thing about invisibility. Just straight to it. Talking about his little guinea pig friend who he injects. And the harness like effect when it starts moving around, that's pretty cool. So while this guinea pig is transitioning into invisibility, they're using the Meets Frankenstein music. Mm-hmm. They're like, dun, 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 dun. It's just like, hey, I know that. Tommy wants, of course, he's like, cool. If I go invisible, fucking inject me. Just stick a needle in me. It's great. And it's like, no, Tommy. First off, you don't know anything about its founder, John Griffin.
Hey.
Now, I know Jack is just like a nickname for John, but nobody fucking called him John in The Invisible Man.
No.
Not even Flora.
I'm wondering if it was like one of those, like, I mean,
An English to American thing?
Yeah. That
was my thought.
They changed the name or something like that. Like, oh, traveling over the ocean, the name got messed up or something. Or it could just very easily be like, oh, you can't mention the actual Invisible Man.
But they can show a picture of Claude Rains on the wall.
Hell yeah. It's that too.
They cut away to downstairs, and Abbott and Costello are watching a football game. And Costello's like, that's fucking loud. I don't care for it. Same. All about that. And they're watching the football game, and he goes, the halfback just ran around his own end. And Costello's just, huh? Same. Exactly. So they start hearing the cops pull up because somebody suspected that Tommy Nelson, this place, your known associates. So Abbott and Costello are like, oh, we got to dip out the back. They start running. They go, wait a minute, what are we doing? We're detectives. Yep. We're cops. Tommy hears all of this commotion and shoos Helen out and the doctor out the door to go, deal with them, locks the door behind. And then he starts to flee, but then sees the needle that's left on the table and injects himself in the arm.
And becomes a guinea pig. Just kidding. That doesn't happen.
Animorphs.
Oh.
Also on the TV, Abbott and Costello heard about Tommy Nelson. It's like the reward that's attached to him. So this is where Abbott starts going, money.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts making his own plan. And you stay in here and I'll go out there. No, okay. I'll go out there. You stay in here. They had that whole thing. Costello is like stuck in that room now. Abbott's going to find the detectives to be like, hey, we know where Tommy Nelson is. Tommy Nelson came into the room before that whole, you stay in here, I'll go out there bit.
Right.
And he's trying to hide and he's feeling all funky and stuff. Meanwhile, Costello's like, hello, Mr. Murderer. Yes. Listen, I'm not going to tell anything. No, don't worry about it. You just go that way. I'll go this way. Let's shake on it. He starts shaking his hand and then Tommy's hand disappears. And he looks down and goes, oh, looks up and Tommy starts laughing. His face disappears and then his teeth stay there. Yeah,
I loved that little bit. I was like, that's kind of cool.
It's really cool. It's also like, now I'm thinking about it, like, would that be hard to disappear? Or are there some things that maybe by science shouldn't disappear? Because if this is injected into the bloodstream,
I mean,
how much blood is in your teeth?
I don't think any.
Exactly.
But I'm also not a dental hygienist or anything like that. I'm not a dentist, so I don't know anything. I mean,
Rob wants to be a dentist.
There's no, God, no. I don't want to be in anybody's mouth. It's so gross. People are nasty. I don't know. I mean, there's nerves, so I feel like there must be blood.
True. As soon as Tommy fully becomes invisible, he starts undressing, as you do.
Wow, chicka, wow, wow.
I might have been the only person who thought it, or Rob, you were probably right there next to me thinking the same exact thing. As soon as, like, it keeps cutting back and forth between Costello and Tommy, and then it cuts back for the pants, and it's just unzip, and you're just sitting there going, there's a dick. Yeah. There's a dick right there. You can't see it, but in spirit, there's a dick.
Well, okay, so before you go further, so during this scene, because of the information you gave, I learned from you from the Invisible Man episode about the black silk that they used for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
When Tommy, so while he's undressing, like taking his top off, he's got his back to the camera and he's like undoing his top. There is twice you can see his hand with like a black silk glove on.
Mm-hmm.
You could fully see it. And I was just like, oh!
You can see it so much during this movie. You can see it during the poker scene. Yep. Like there are times where you could full blown see his hands. Yep. There's times where you could full blown see like his outline. You could see his face in the restaurant scene even.
Yep.
I know at the end you're supposed to, but at the same point, I will say that ending scene, like the work there and the steam and all that, really cool. Really cool.
Yeah. No, it was awesome.
Yeah. So Costello is basically backing up against the door and going into shock, and Abbott comes back with two detectives or inspectors, whatever you want to call them, and goes, I got it. Don't you worry. and comes back with 2 of them, and he goes, don't worry, my partner's got him in there. He's sharp as a tack. He won't let anything get past him. Opens the doors, and Costello falls the fuck out. And they go, and it's like, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Lou, what happened? And he's not waking up, so they give him smelling salts, and his hat goes...
I loved that gag, especially, because it's live action. They're like, let's make this as cartoony as possible. And both times it happened, I was just like, man... This was my actual thought. I was like, I can't wait to do our favorite Scooby-Doo episode.
So the inspectors basically start calling Abbott and Costello crazy. They're going to have them committed. There's some nice people down at the station I want you to go talk to. Which, that's a whole fucking thing. They leave. Abbott's like, what the hell? You had him. We had that $5,000 in hand. And then you hear, double crosser. He kicks him. And Tommy's still in the room. And Abbott, somehow while looking at Costello, thinks that Costello put his leg around him and kicked him in the behind and called him a double crosser. And he's like, you did that.
It's another gag that goes throughout the entire movie. It was like, how? You're looking directly at him. There isn't a chance in hell.
Yeah. And then Abbott and Costello leave. Tommy lights a cigarette and scrams on out of there, just floating away. Costello is with the psychiatrist. He's like, an invisible man, huh? He's like, yes. And he goes, have you ever seen anyone disappear before into thin air? And he goes, yeah, my brother. We were walking down the street and he all of a sudden disappeared. And he goes, into thin air? No, into a manhole. And he goes, do you ever hear any voices from nowhere? He goes, yes, when I call the wrong number on the telephone. He tells him to go lie down. He goes, what, you don't believe me while I'm sitting here? And then the psychiatrist walks over, lies down, and says, we'll get to the bottom of what's the matter with you. Costello goes, all right, what's the matter with me? And he's sitting in the psychiatrist's chair like, all right, you tell me. It's just a whole fucking thing.
I laughed way more during this movie than I did during Frankenstein. Like, the just absolutely punchy ridiculousness of the conversations were so good. Even some of the gags. There's one when we get to it. I was like crying. I was laughing so hard. I was like, why am I laughing this hard? This is so stupid.
The psychiatrist takes out his watch and starts trying to put Costello to sleep. And he starts counting. And the psychiatrist goes, what are you doing? He goes, I'm counting cows. Cows? I'm allergic to sheep. What the fuck?
It's so stupid. Not even watching it, just hearing him recite the lines. Dude, it's amazing. I absolutely love Abbott and Costello. Specifically Costello. He is so fucking funny. Oh my god.
I belong to 2 unions.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
You eating Oh, okay. It looked like a fudgesicle. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing, you monster?
I got my gumdrop.
Yeah.
This episode sponsored by Nido.
That'd be sick.
Wish, dude.
That would be sick. Rob, what do you have in your hand there behind the scenes?
Oh, it's just my Nido cube.
What?
If you don't like the texture of these cubes or it's too big for you, you can always get a gumdrop. These are great for people with arthritis or people who have joint issues. Or if you work with your hands on a regular basis and you need to make sure your hands are staying nice and strong, get yourself a Nido.
Rob, that's just like the one that I have right here in my hand.
Oh, which one do you have, Jason Michael?
I have the pink gumdrop. What color do you have in gumdrop form?
Orange, because Halloween is life.
You're not wrong. Gotta collect them all. Neato. I gotta find a fucking place to put that, or maybe I just leave it right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, where are we? So Costello says he can't go back to sleep. He's focusing on the clock, and he just goes, yeah, I can't do it. You're just spinning it and spinning it and spinning it. And then the psychiatrist starts to fall asleep by watching Costello do it. Costello's like, oh, God, what do I do? Cop comes in. He goes, I wonder how they're doing in there. The psychiatrist has been with Lou for a very long time. I got to go check on him. And then we cut to another scene of 2 cops walking up going, oh, the doc's here real late tonight. Wonder if everything's okay. They walk in, and then Abbott and the main detective just go, where has everybody gone? We need to go. All right. You know what? Let's go get your friend. We'll settle this. They go into the psychiatrist office, and there's 6 total people. There's the doctor, there's the first cop, there's the 2 cops, and then there's the 2 cleaning ladies that were right outside the office when the 2 cops showed up. They are all asleep in the office, and Costello's like, I don't know what to do. But he wakes up, and the doctor and the psychiatrist basically just go, give me the fucking watch. Get the hell out of here. I never want to see you again.
It's so good.
Yeah. The detective asked the doctor what he found out, and he says he saw his brother disappear. Into thin air? No, into a sewer.
Into a sewer.
So Abbott and Costello go back to their private eye headquarters to find Helen already waiting there. And she goes, hey, help me prove Tommy's innocence, please. Here's $500. Helen had a suitcase of stuff to bring Tommy to the park, and that's why she's giving him the $500 to bring that to him. And then Abbott opens it up, sees like goggles, bandages, gloves, a suit, and he goes, oh, you're both in on it. Okay, well, how much did Tommy give you to give him the slip earlier? And reaches into his pocket. It's the $500. $500. Your $500 plus Helen's $500. That's $1,000. Tries to put it in his pocket. Lou does it again. He's like, it's like at least minute-long bit of just Costello swiping the hundreds and swiping them and swapping them out. And at the end of it, at least Costello got away with it 100. But
yeah, it was a really smooth sleight of hand stuff.
Seriously. So after the whole money sleight of hand bit, they leave, they go to the park, and Abbott waits by the car, and Costello, the chicken of the group, goes sauntering into a dark, foggy forest looking for an invisible man. That's not a recipe for disaster in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
But he's just walking around like whistling and calling out for Tommy. And Tommy, all of a sudden, you can hear and see brush moving and like the footstep bit that they did from 1933 with like the dropped steps as the steps are getting closer in the grass. And then Costello just basically drops the case and ski the fuck daddles out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do kind of an overhead shot of the car, Abbott, and Costello in the woods, it doesn't really look like he's that deep in.
No, I do like the grass bit better than the snow bit because it is grass.
Yeah.
So it masks that it's not toes. You know what I mean? Like with the snow bit, it was like, it's shoes. Like, this time it was just like, oh, there's prints in the snow.
He was wearing saran wrap shoes. Abbott says, what did you see? And Costello runs back and goes, an empty woods full of Tommy Nelson. And then Tommy comes out wearing his Invisible Man disguise, and it's not the same. They tried, and every Invisible Man movie has tried to do obviously the same thing, but I mean,
yeah,
it never looks the same or good to me. So Tommy comes out of the woods. They start to get into the car. Costello gets in with him, and the cops roll up, which Abbott has contacted the cops about this meet so he could get the reward again for Tommy Nelson. So Tommy's in the front seat. Costello's like, it's okay, Tommy. We'll drive. We'll get you out of here. Then all of a sudden he looks over and Tommy Nelson's not even there. Just pulling off his goggles, bandages, shirt, everything. The cops come up and it's like, you again. God damn it. Every single fucking time. And yet there's no Tommy Nelson. Abbott's again pissed. This is when Tommy makes himself known, pulls his hat down, kicks him, yells at him, just basically hammers.
I do love the goggles, though. I like the fact that we get different goggles for both iterations, 2 completely different characters. I dig these goggles.
Yeah. So Tommy is obviously not happy at Abbott, and basically it takes them into the car and just leaves. They all drive away in the car together. So while Tommy is driving, we get some of the backstory that Helen told Abbott and Costello back in the private eye, their office, essentially, that the uncle's working on a reagent. It'll bring you back. Don't worry about it. And she's basically like, keep him calm. He will slowly start to go insane. This is what this drug does to people. So just keep him calm. And don't worry about that. So they start explaining, hey, Helen's uncle's working on a reagent, and Tommy's just driving all around the road like a fucking maniac. And he goes, I could turn into a raving maniac with the urge to kill as he drives straight head on at a truck and then swerves at the last second. This is a really funny bit. It attracts the attention of an officer on a bike who follows up right behind him and goes, pull over. But he's talking into the rear to Abbott and Costello, and they go, we're not driving, talk to him. They drive up, and it's just nobody in the front seat. So he slows down. And then we see the cop at the psychiatrist being, I saw a car being driven by somebody, being driven by nobody. It's just like, what? They show up at a boxing gym, and from this point, it basically just turns into a boxing movie. Tommy Nelson, prize fighter, alleged killed his fight manager. We're about to find out a bunch of shit about that.
Yeah, it's just, I really feel like this movie, there was a loose plot idea at one point, and they were like, well, where do we go with this? Well, he is a boxer, so let's just make a boxing movie. And man, it's just, it goes off. I feel like it goes off the rails, honestly. Yeah. And that is truly my only complaint about the movie. Arguably, this is the funniest out of the two we've watched so far. And it has some of the best bits and gags in it.
One of my favorites is about to happen.
I think it's the same as mine. It's gotta be if we're getting into the boxing at this point.
Yep. So there's a man on a rowing machine. And Costello goes, what are you doing? He goes, rowing. I got to be to Staten Island in 20 minutes. And Costello goes, oh, you better hurry. The tide's going out. And Abbott looks at him and gives him the, oh, you face, but then just kind of smirks like, all right, that was fucking funny. Because that was fucking hilarious.
I feel like it must not have been scripted. It felt like it was so off the cuff that I was like, there's no way that was scripted because it's too funny.
Yeah, it's Abbott's like genuine reaction of good one. Yeah. There's a fight exhibition happening with some pretty unsynced sound effects, but I can look past that. We find that the fight manager and a few other people had to made a bet for Tommy to take a dive the night that he fought Rocky Hanlon, who's currently the jackass in the ring right now, just housing somebody in an exhibition match. Tommy overheard this and basically goes up to Abbott and Costello going, yeah, I knew it. Pay me to take a dive. I didn't do it, so that's why they killed him. I can get like all the information I need. I just need somebody to fight and fight them. And he goes, it's not going to be me, but this guy right here, he's your slugger. And Costello's like, I don't know. No, not me. So
thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah. Tommy turns to work on the bag and he's like, just put your hands up. I'll do the rest. Tommy starts going ham on the bag, just the whole, and Costello is hamming it up. Just occasional, nothing is even coming close. Like he's headbutting the thing. He's turning around. He's like, he's punching with his opposite hand in the opposite direction and goes, oh, wrong hand. Goes back.
He turns his back to it at one point and is just punching the air. And it's still going. This was the gag I liked because it was just, it felt like it was never going to end. And the more it went on, the funnier it became to me. Like I was crying. I was laughing so hard. I'm like, this is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so good though.
Like it's going on for quite some time and it draws the attention of everybody like press wise surrounding the ring, and they all start turning around and Hanlon's ready for his picture, but they all go over to take pictures of Lou and he's like, hey, I'm the real star, get a picture of me. And it's like Tommy says something trash talk to him. Abbott basically continues to stir the pot when Rocky's getting pissed, and Rocky goes, I'll smear your map all over the place. And Costello goes, you could smear his map all over the place. I don't know what to do. He goes, what are you doing? He's like, he's going to smear my map all over the place. Don't worry about it. He turns around and then tries to punch Lou. And then Tommy actually punches him. And they go, man, that was quite a punch. People keep going, it was an uppercut. No, it was a right cross. And he goes, what kind of punch was that? Costello goes, maybe a half Nelson. Maybe a whole Nelson. Joking about Tommy Nelson.
Yeah.
We got to cut away to a sports announcer saying Rocky Hanlon has now been challenged to a fight to Louis the Looper. So for pretty much the rest of the movie, Lou will be referred to as Louis, or the Looper.
Looper.
Mostly the Looper. We cut to the poker game, which is really funny. Again, we were talking about some of the
Poker, I hardly even know her.
Oh, either way, you can see some of Tommy's black velvet here, like cutting across in his hands when he's dealing out the cards, especially when he's like shuffling it. You can see the digits of his fingers. I mean, I'm not saying it took me out of the scene, but I will definitely say I did not look at anything else except for the area Tommy was supposed to be in to see if I could see more.
Yeah,
and
like
just
a
be
Where's
like,
Waldo of you fucked up.
Yeah. It's like, all right, how much of Tommy can I see? Like, oh, there's his face, there's his arm, and his fingers going across. He's looking at Abbott now, actually. It was really hard to, like, look away from him. You could see it more when the camera was on Abbott, but not so much on Costello. Occasionally when he would move into frame, but Abbott, it was basically Abbott and then Tommy. Yeah. Costello starts feeling around, making sure like Tommy wasn't peeking behind him because apparently he got a real good hand, and they keep anteing up and so on and so forth. And Abbott wants out, and then we hear a knock on the door, and it's Helen Gray. So Abbott and Costello leave to give them a little bit of privacy. Tommy comes out in a fucking just dressing robe, like, "Hello, I'm a floating robe."
Well, you're missing the part where Abbott and Costello go to leave, and Abbott pulls Costello and a bunch of cards fall out of his sleeve.
Yeah. It just flies out and he goes, "Oh, it does look like somebody was cheating."
So good.
God. He comes out in the robe, and again, you could see some of the black velvet, but when it's like the close up and the arms wrap around, that's some wire work right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still pretty good. Yeah, it's still pretty good wire work, but you can kind of tell it pinches up in a specific angle.
Yeah.
Like it's being held up by one pressure point. Helen basically says, "Come back to the lab. We can help clear your name." And Tommy doesn't want to. He's enjoying invisibility a little bit too much. And then she goes and sees Abbott. Costello goes, "If he starts acting strangely, call me. Just call me. Don't hesitate. Just call me." They go, "Okay, perfect." As she's leaving, the detective starts knocking on the door. And then they're like, "Quick, hide Tommy." Because, the man's fucking invisible. Get rid of the dressing gown and stand in the room.
Nope.
No, Costello goes over, pulls the tablecloth off the table, and just throws it over Tommy, who is now sitting on the ground.
We told him to kneel down.
Yeah. And he picks up a little teacup and just sits elbow on top of Tommy's head. And the detective comes in and goes, "Well, I know Helen Gray was just here. And I know for damn sure she wasn't here to talk to either one of you two. So, where's Tommy Nelson?"
Yeah.
And they go, "I don't know." And then I think it was Costello's like, "We have no idea where Tommy Nelson is," and just does like a Costello look down at the thing. And I guess the detective kind of just takes that as, "Oh, so you don't know where he is, eh? Nelson, come on out of there." And he pulls off the cloth, and it's just the bathrobe sitting there. And he goes, "What's that?" And Costello goes, "My laundry."
My laundry.
We cut to a restaurant. There is Abbott's at the restaurant, Lou's at the restaurant, and
the Looper.
The Looper. There's a woman who's across the bar with another man talking about at the bar how the Looper doesn't really look like much, but he looks like he could take a dive. And honestly, there's a lot of characters in this that I didn't even know had names.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure she's referred to as Boots. And then the main gangster didn't know his name until like the end scene. His name was Morgan, I guess.
Yep.
He just fucking comes out of nowhere. But this was the waiter coming over. It's like, "All right, what'll you have?" Abbott says what he wants. And Lou goes, "Spaghetti." And Tommy goes, "And a steak." He's sitting in the booth with them. And the waiter's like, "What did you want?" "Spaghetti and a steak." He just goes, "Well, what would you have? Spaghetti or a steak?" "I'll have the spaghetti." "And a steak, and a steak." Just to be like, calm the fuck down.
Which, by the way, when the food comes out, there's no fucking steak.
No. Tommy just straight up takes his spaghetti.
I also love that this is the evil. We are warned, like we know from the Invisible Man, that the serum makes the person who's taken it and has turned invisible go fucking feral. They go completely crazy and just start killing.
He wanted his steak, damn it.
Well, the craziness is the fact that he just gets fucking shithoused. Like, he is wasted. And it's like, you're invisible and drunk as a skunk. Like,
like they trip over him.
Yeah. There's no evil. Like, he doesn't, the entire time, all he's trying to do is prove himself innocent. And I think it's, why add hey, by the way, the person who initially did this went fucking crazy and got killed into the plot if, A, you're changing the name of the person. Like, it's not even the same first name. But if we're not ever going to see him, like, go off the rails, like, didn't make any sense to me, still doesn't make any sense to me.
There's not a lot of the Invisible Man suit, if you will, in this movie. It's pretty much, we see it once, maybe twice.
Correct. No, just the once. Dude, they bring him the suitcase, he puts it on, and then immediately takes it off. You're like, well, the goggles were cool. The wrap looked way better than the original. Like, both wraps, too. Because, like, the first wrap, I mean, like we said in last week's episode, like, I really enjoy the first wrap because it's so disheveled. But even the second wrap, it's so loosey-goosey, and it just doesn't look right. And then with this one, it's, like, form-fitting, almost like a mask. And the goggles are dope. He looks like he's about to go, like, skiing or some shit, and I don't know. I just like the look.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just on a drunken tirade, but there are mini stories galore that happen in this scene.
So much. Much.
Honestly, I thought like it was a whole new day. Nope, they're all still at the bar. So she comes over, has a whole thing of it's like, oh, you're the fighter, the looper, this, that, the other thing. Like, where do you live? Oh, you live in the same apartment complex I live in. Great. I live there too. And Abbott goes, oh, I live there as well. And she goes, well, you better like your room.
Oh, yeah.
Basically like, oh, fuck that again. It's like the whole, what are we doing tonight? Wilbur's going to a masquerade ball, but I'm not doing anything. Oh, in that case, you'll be awfully lonely. It's like, oh, every time. So they devise a plan to record the conversation of her asking Lou to take a dive.
Yeah.
Because that's what she did before for Tommy, which we find out. And the food shows up. Again, no steak. But Lou goes, I'm so excited, so hungry, ready to eat the spaghetti. Tommy moves it. He doesn't know. So he forks his napkin, twirls it up, starts eating it. He goes, oh, it's so good. Then they almost Lady in the Tramp with the spaghetti.
That's a really cool bit, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like
floating and you can see it. It's one of those black velvet things where it's like, and there it was. Especially with like all the drinks that are going to come up later, you can see the outline, like shadow of the black velvet. This
was another oversight because in The Invisible Man, he says that he can't eat anything because you'll be able to see the food digesting, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time he's over here eating and drinking and you're like, why are we not seeing
continuity? Boom.
Yeah. Why are we not seeing anything? Like, did we forget this? Are we ignoring it? Like,
must have.
Man, it was I got excited too because like we had both already said it's been so long since we watched this. I'd forgotten so much about it, but I got excited because I'd forgotten this scene and I was like, oh, we're going to see it go down. Like, how are they going to do this? No, we've seen nothing.
God damn it.
I was bummed.
Yeah.
It would have been just funny if he just stood up and there was just like an outline of like chewed spaghetti.
Yeah.
In the shape of a stomach.
Delicious. So Abbott and Costello go to the young woman's abode in the apartment. They have flowers with a record player inside of it, or like an actual record to record it. Yeah. And Lou goes in and she goes, good evening. And he goes, good night, and walks out. And
she looks like she's ready for bed.
Yep. He goes back in. Abbott tries to look through the keyhole and just gets squirted in the face with water. And at first I was like, what the fuck did this come from? It turns out Costello's got a little water pistol on the other side. He's like, oh, it's for watering the flowers. Don't worry about it. So she starts leading Costello towards the bedroom and steers away. And he kind of looks at the camera like, what the fuck is happening? Almost. And she starts selling Costello on taking a dive during the fight. Him asking, is that the same thing you did for Tommy Nelson? And she goes, that's off the record. And then she starts kissing him. And it's like, when will you take a dive? Mwah, round one? Mwah, round two? And he just goes, how many rounds can you go? Little kind of thing.
Yeah.
She leaves for a hot second, and then he goes and grabs the record and hides it in the back of his pants. And then she has him sit down and sits on top of him, and you hear a crunch.
Yep.
And it shatters the record. And she goes, "What's that?" And he goes, "That's off the record."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another record joke coming up, too.
Oh, no. We cut back to the restaurant. Tommy's a mean drunk. He's a real mean drunk. And he's like laughing and just shouting. Abbott has to pretend he's the drunk one for the guy the waiter coming by. Costello and Boots come back.
Boots.
And he's like, "Oh, get him drinking some champagne out of your shoe. We'll get a great picture of it." It's like, nasty.
Gross.
Yeah. So he starts pouring it into the shoe, and it's pouring out of the shoe onto another guy's head. And this guy gets like shit on several times this evening. But like each time it's the Looper. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Looper. Well, not as sorry as you'll be when you go against Rocky Hanlon." It's like, oh, we're going to be doing that. Okay. All right. Understood. They go up to the bar where Tommy has gotten to, and he starts taking all the drinks from everybody else. Because Lou's like, "No, Tommy, you are drunk right now. All right. You need to stop." And Tommy gets up and goes, blah, 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 blah. Starts trying to take one drink. Of course, Costello's holding it, and it's the same guy he just spilled the drink on. So that went over well. He goes down a little bit, down the bar, and you could see some of the wires in this shot, like picking up the shot glass and how they fold back down onto the glass. During this whole thing, we find out who killed Tommy's fight manager, and that he'll meet Lou fast enough. We can see Tommy's outline. Like when he takes a drink, it spills down the front of him, and we can see the outline of the suit again.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably was unintentional, but it's a fun little detail. The man who we could see the wires on the drink, he punches Bud, and because he's like, "Tommy will have my back. Go ahead. I'd like to see you give you your best shot." Tommy's fucked off down the bar, and he's having more drinks. So Abbott gets punched. Tommy starts laughing at him. Costello goes up and tries to defend him, but he grabs the guy, and they start spinning, and the bartender clocks him on the head with a hammer. And Tommy punches the bartender, who then thinks it's the man in front of him, so he hits him on the head with the hammer. It's just it's chaos.
Yeah.
Lou won't wake up, and so Tommy's like, "Spray him with some water." And it's just sitting there, and just there's a whole conversation happening in front of the bartender, and the bartender's just aimlessly there. Not like, who's talking? Why is that spray bottle just spraying now?
We skipped over the fact that when Costello comes back, he gives the record. Abbott asks him what happened to the recording.
Oh,
he's like, "I got here as fast as I can." He's like, "Oh, how fast did you get here?" I broke a record. He just puts the record down. It's another record joke. It's just so bad, but they don't have it. So now they've got it. This is why this whole bar situation happens, is they need to get the information some other way.
Yeah. So Costello wakes up, Tommy tries to leave, and the detective is walking in through the spinning door, and it knocks Tommy unconscious. And they're just like, "Oh my God," they're looking on the ground. They don't see the detective sitting there staring at them through the door, but he's just watching them and like, what the fuck? They're picking up. I will say, it was pretty good acting of them picking up Tommy's body invisibly.
Yeah, there's a really cool promotional photo for the movie. When I was looking for pictures when I was making our title cards, it takes a lot of searching to find the right picture for me to make these title cards and teasers, by the way, folks. Like, this isn't just like, yeah, this'll do. Like, I try really hard to make sure I'm doing all of this so it looks good. But there were some really cool promotional photos where it looks like an animator came in and drew in where the Invisible Man was for these, including there's a still where they drew in an outline for them carrying him. It looks really cool. I'll make sure I post it on our Instagram so you guys can see it, and our Facebook.
Oh,
hey-o! Mention it more than once. We're on Facebook now, people.
That's right. So the detective then goes to the psychiatrist. We see this joke again, and he goes, "What'd you see?" "I saw two men carrying no man." It just keeps getting worse for them.
I love it.
Tommy wakes up at 823 Maple with Helen and the doctor above her, as well as Abbott and Costello. He's got an ice pack on his head, and he's just looking around like, "Oh, God, where am I?" And he goes, "Oh, well, last night you were acting crazy because you were drinking everybody else's drinks." Tommy says, "That's weird. I don't remember seeing anybody last night." Costello goes, "Then we're even because we didn't even see you." So Tommy understands like the plan that he has to go and fight in the ring with Costello. And that Costello takes some perfume, sprays him on Tommy, and he goes, "At least I'll be able to smell you if I don't see you."
Which is really smart. Honestly.
Yeah. So then they all leave. Helen, Abbott, Costello, they all leave. Doctor and Tommy are still in, and Tommy starts wiggling, and he goes, Doc, I can't move. Like, oh shit, maybe something wrong with the invisibility? Nah, he's strapped down because he's starting to go fucking insane.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool look. It just looks like a glorified guinea pig invisibility thing from earlier. But there are some effects that have greatly improved since 1933 and some that have gotten worse.
I mean, sure.
It is also a comedy movie, so I mean that it might not have had the same dedicated eye. Maybe I'm coming up with excuses. You suck. You did it wrong.
You did it all wrong.
Oh God, it all went wrong. The radio broadcaster comes back and says both men, Louis and Hamlin, lack defense, but are great in offense, which should make this the most offensive fight of the year. I just thought that was a little funny line.
Offensive as hell.
They're going to be in the middle of the ring. Fuck you! Fuck you!
Just naked the entire time.
So they're in the basement of the gym or the arena where they're going to fight. And Lou is running around looking super nervous. Meanwhile, Costello is lighting up a nice sugar. Costello he's waiting for Tommy. Bam, bam. Sugar. He hears scratching at the window and thinks that it's Tommy. He goes up, it's a black cat, and Costello screams and just kind of like, he does like an anti-curse symbol over his mouth and just goes. So Costello goes over and Abbott's smoking a cigar and he's like, don't worry about it. He'll be here. Costello takes the cigar and starts puffing it. And he goes, I'll see Tommy. And he goes, but if you puff it that way, you won't be able to fight because you'll get sick. And he starts puffing faster. He's like, come on. A package from Boots arrives, and it is one of the gangsters from Morgan. But he's like, here's a package. Don't worry about it. You can wear them or lie with them. And it's roses. And then there's cash in there as well. So Abbott starts counting it. Costello lies down, and he puts the roses down, and he just puts them down in his hands like he's laying in his own casket. And he just goes, Beep! So Costello starts counting the money, and he goes, all right, 1, 2, 300 for them, 1 for me, 1 for you, 4, 5, 6 of them, 1 for me, 1 for you. And he's like, whoa, who's getting the bigger half? And he goes, the income tax man. You're not wrong, Costello. You're not wrong.
Nope.
So in the note, it basically said you'll take a dive in the 5th. That it's what's going to happen. And he goes, okay. So Abbott wants him to dive in the 5th. Tommy shows up and hear Abbott talking about him, which at this point, like, Abbott is not to be trusted around Tommy. Granted, yes, he can't see him, but he has backstabbed him at least 3 times at this point.
Seriously.
I mean, God damn it. So Tommy shows up and is angry about this and the money and just taking the dive. And then they have to go up and Tommy goes with them. And the bell, like, they all get in the ring and the bell rings for the fight and Costello sits back down. But they took out the stool, so he just, like, slams on the ground, gets up, look at the guy who took his stool, and punches him in the face like he's in the ring. It just starts punching him repeatedly. He's like, what the fuck?
So good.
So basically, over the next couple minutes, it's a lot of bits in the ring. It's a boxing fight at this point. Yeah. So occasionally Tommy will start doing work on Rocky Hamlin. Other times Rocky will do work on Costello and Tommy's not there. Some gag bits, a lot of running away. And then there's a time where Tommy leaves the ring to go listen to Morgan. And he's like, something's the matter here. Somebody needs to take care of this. Otherwise, we're going to take him out. Just like we did with Nelson's fight manager. It's like, oh my God.
He did the thing and said the words.
Yeah. So he goes back in and it's round after round after round. Rocky is suspecting that he hears voices in there. He's like, man, he got hit real hard. He's hearing voices now. It's like, shit. Tommy comes back and, like, got him on the ropes at this point. Rocky is almost done. So Lou goes, Tommy, let me finish him off. And then just swings, misses, and clocks Tommy in the face. And the invisible knockdown into the ropes is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he's just,
The invisible moment where he leaves the ring too, when the ropes separate, is really cool.
Yeah. So Tommy's now unconscious, and then Rocky's chasing him, trips over Tommy, and he goes, "What the fuck?" As like Costello's stepping over him.
Yeah.
This was
the best gag in the ring too is just the constant tripping over something they can't see.
Yeah.
Is so good.
Like Rocky goes down and kind of stays down, and then the ref is starting to count. Lou goes over, takes a drink, and tries to bring it over to Tommy and spits, like to wake him up. But he trips because he doesn't know where he is, and like headbutts and spits at Rocky Hanlon. It's like, oh my God. So he gets back up, wakes him up again. It's fucking just... He gets up, he goes to drink more water. Rocky goes over and punches Costello in the stomach, which spits on him. It's a whole fucking thing. It's insane. The other trainers go back to the corner and Costello looks confused. They hear Tommy and just like, what the hell is happening? Don't worry about it. It's fine. We're good. At this point, Morgan has told one of his guys to go get the torpedo. It's lots of bits, lots of jokes, like Costello getting knocked down and he goes, throw in the towel. He goes, no, you're doing great. Nobody's laid a glove on you. He goes, well, keep an eye on the ref because somebody's hitting me. Then Tommy comes back and hits the bell. The guy who was hitting the bell is just so confused. Yeah. Basically, to give Costello a moment to breathe, Costello sits back down and they give him the smelling salts, which heats up the ice pack that's on his head and it just pops. And Abbott just goes, oh, he popped his top. And it's like, oh, yes, but
that's nasty.
Like there's a whole following bit where Rocky is trying to punch Costello, but Costello is not even, he's just like putting his hands in front of his face. Tommy punches him. He opens his eyes like, oh, perfect. Again, a lot of visual stuff.
This is that's any Abbott and Costello, especially. I mean, it's Costello. It's all Costello.
Yeah,
Abbott's there just to be the doubtful Thomas or whatever they call it. Costello's everything's with his body. His facial reactions and everything. If you've never watched an Abbott and Costello movie, and if us going on about Meets Frankenstein wasn't enough for you to watch one, this has got to be the one. Like, go watch an Abbott and Costello movie. It doesn't even have to be tied in with Universal Monsters.
So Tommy wins the fight, or Costello wins the fight, whatever. Rocky is taken care of, knockout, done. They go back to the dressing room where they find out we find out first that Morgan and the torpedo are just hiding behind the door. They've hired one of his henchmen to dress up as a cop and just be like, don't let anybody else besides Looper and his manager in here. So they go in, they're talking to him. It's like, nobody knows, or like, they don't know that we know that Morgan hired the hit on O'Hara, the fight manager. And they're just in the corner like, oh, fuck. Okay, well, Lou looks back and sees them sitting there and he goes, well, they know now. They turn around, they got a gun. It's a whole invisible chase, pretty much. Tommy's in there, knocks the gun down. So they knocked the gun out of Torpedo's hands originally. It flew across the room, landed in the water cooler, and he says, go get the gun. Lou doesn't take off his boxing gloves, and he's trying to fish the gun out of the cooler.
Yeah,
so eventually he
give it to him.
So Morgan has the gun now, and he's trying to shoot Tommy, who's, of course, invisible. He shoots a wall that's right next to Costello, moves around the table, then goes over, shoots a radio. It starts singing opera. And then Costello was like, shut up, turn down, picks up something, slams it on the radio, and the radio reacts to the hit like it got hit. It's
Which
just singing like,
amazing.
See, that's the slapstick shit that I love, and we can never see now.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. He's trying to shoot Tommy, who's insulting him this whole time. This whole end of the movie starts going a little confusing, especially the fact that there's an invisible fucking man in play.
Yep.
So Tommy knocks down Morgan, and Tommy takes the gun back. You can see him because of the steam now, holding the gun at Morgan, and the torpedo pulls out a knife and throws it at him. It sticks under his armpit, which, again, you can see the outline, but it still works. And he staggers back, and it's still really cool to actually see, because I feel like something like that we'd see, and it would be very choppy. Or like, say, from the Original Man episode, Original Man, the original Invisible Man episode, where it would look like, where it would look like it's an entirely different plate, but it's actually in the scene, it looks like, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very well done.
Yeah. So the professor and Helen were at the fight, and they met the detective there, who they all go downstairs. They arrest the fake cop. They come in and they arrest Morgan and Torpedo, and then they have to bring Tommy to the hospital, which now the detective believes them because, you know, he can actually kind of see him. And then Tommy comes there. I am all over the place. Taking notes on my phone was not a good idea.
Well, before we record Child's Play on...
I'm not transcribing.
Wednesday. Transcribe.
I'm not transcribing.
Yeah, I'll carry the episode anyway. So
I was going to say, I put notes down for Child's Play 1 and 2, like Rob was carrying it.
Good.
I still have some decent notes. Like I have way more notes than I thought I was going to put down. So we're in the hospital now, and Tommy is in bed, and so is Costello. So in the bed, you can see like a faint outline of Tommy that's like pulsating, when they said in the first movie that the effects of the drugs will die with him. So that's basically showing, hey, Tommy's fucking dying.
Yep.
So we go to the hospital, and in the bed, there's a transfusion happening where Costello is giving blood to Tommy. Abbott goes, wow, wasn't that lucky that you were the same blood type as Tommy? And Costello goes, why can't you be lucky sometimes?
I love that line.
Yeah. The blood starts flowing, and we see Tommy's veins appear. We see an outline. It's like a drawn muscle person. And then we slowly see Tommy's face come back into existence.
It's the only disappointment I had in this revisibility versus the original man version is
we're laughing at ourselves. Don't worry about it.
We don't get to see the skeleton. Like, I wanted to see the skull again, but we see like veins and then muscle, and then he's back. It's just like the last thing we saw when he went invisible was his teeth. We didn't see those come back at all. Like,
oh my God, he has no teeth!
Hilarious twist. What a twist!
Hilarious twist. Only his teeth are invisible now?
Yeah.
Sir, chew with your mouth closed. This is a classy restaurant. I'm trying.
Nom.
Delicious. So Tommy's reappeared, and Bud goes, it's impossible. I can see Tommy. Costello goes, quiet, Bud. You're in a hospital. You shouldn't make any noise. And his hand starts disappearing, followed by the rest of them. And he just disappears, and he goes, wow, this is incredible. The doctor makes up, some of Tommy's blood might have gone backwards in the transfusion and into Costello. It's just like,
whoopsie daisies.
Yeah. And he goes, don't worry. The effects won't last long. Costello goes, I'm going to do everything I wanted to do. He takes off through the hospital and just like goes into an elevator full of nurses. They open the door, and Abbott gets kicked out because they thought he was getting frisky with them, which no, it's just an invisible Costello who kisses a nurse and reappears. And then it's his top half, and he just goes, uh-oh, runs over, grabs a towel. He all reappears. All of him reappears.
Reappears, heard.
Yes. Original man. And he looks down, and he sees that his legs are backwards. And Abbott goes, oh, you always manage to have something backwards. And he then starts running backwards down the hall and shatters through the door. And that is the end of Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man. Now we will go back to it. What the fuck is with the legs?
Yeah, it makes zero sense.
Is it?
Whatsoever.
I mean, it's a movie. It's a comedy movie. It's funny. I get it. But how does it make any sort of sense at all?
It was, I think maybe the thought process behind it was the fact that his top half was visible, but his bottom half was still invisible. He put the towel on and turned around, and therefore when his legs became visible, they were backwards. But still, even at that point, that's not how this invisibility works. Like,
no. Is he fucking just like a top? He just goes and spinning when you're invisible? Is that what it is?
I guess. I don't know. It's the only part. I love that gag where he's top half visible, towel, no legs. Like that looks awesome. It's a really cool look. but then it just off the rails. And also when he runs backwards, it's just like, it's so poorly done. And then he disappears off the screen for a split second. And then all of a sudden there's like the outline.
The crash. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they really were rushing this ending. Like, we got to finish this shit. Like, let's just get it over with. It went from an Invisible Man movie to a boxing movie. Like, just whatever. The ending can be the ending. Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is. Boy,
that
howdy.
is the Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, the second in our Abbott and Costello watch-alongs and talk-alongs.
Talk-alongs?
Talk-along.
I don't like that.
That's okay. So, Rob.
Yes.
It's about time we get to it. How many original men out of 10 would you give this movie?
That's so fucking weak. I love it, though.
It's because you chuckled at it, all right? God damn it. Let me have it.
It's hilarious. That's why. Your brain was 2 steps ahead of your mouth, and so you're...
Yeah.
Okay, so all of my points are just going to Costello. Because I love Costello. I love everything he did for this. His comedy is amazing. The movie itself, like I've already stated, it's like they had a loose idea and they were like, well, he's a boxer. Let's just make it a boxing movie. It wasn't great. Like, it just wasn't. It wasn't great. But Costello carries it and makes it fun and funny and viewable because he's just so good at what he does. It's getting 5. It gets 5 original men out of 10 for me. How many original men do you give it?
Because I obviously love the Universal Monsters, and I love the old black and white slapstick comedies like Three Stooges, Bowery Boys, Marx Brothers, Laurel and Hardy, and of course Abbott and Costello. It feels like a boxing movie with an occasional sprinkle of Abbott and Costello. Meets Frankenstein had more of a Abbott and Costello adventure kind of feel. This just feels like, all right, cool, boxing movie.
Yep.
I will say though, it's still got some fun moments to it. Again, Costello being fantastic and really physically putting himself into the role. I think I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay. Yeah, our scores are pretty close.
Yeah. It's not like I won't ever watch the movie again, but Meets Frankenstein is still way better in my opinion.
Superior for sure in the fact that it is Universal Monsters. Like, yeah, there's no question.
Yeah, there is a connection where you talk about Jack Griffin, and you're shown a picture of Claude Rains. That's the only connection. Which, correct. Yes, that means it's somewhere in this universe versus, hey, these are actually here in the universe, not just talked about.
Yep.
So,
all right,
it's still a good movie, but I think also with that and the praise that we sang of him, our bloody legend of the week has got to go to Lou Costello here.
Oh, 100% it's Lou Costello.
Not only yes, Bud Abbott does fantastic as he always does, but I feel like Bud was overshadowed and like he wasn't as spry as he was in the Meets Frankenstein. Like he had lines and comebacks galore in that one. This one was kind of just, oh, cool. All right, moving on. Costello, very physically demanding role, especially in the last scene in the ring. And like the amount of falls he has to take, the amount of punches he probably also got. He's really in a different form in this movie, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. He's very physically acting throughout the entirety of the movie. It's very good. Lou Costello, you're the best.
Bloody legend right there.
All right, so we just at the beginning of this new year, knowing that we were starting it off back at our personal top 3 favorites, going in doing the original Invisible Man and doing Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, Jason, Michael, and I had a quick talk, and we were like, you know what? There's a movie that we both really love, that we both had briefly during season 1 been like, oh, this would be a fun one to do, but we could probably do something more with it. We've decided that next week for our live stream on Instagram, but also please follow us on Facebook, yes. We are going to be doing the 2020 Invisible Man
Yeah, dude.
Reimagining? Reboot? Remake?
Maybe, because, I mean, the only connection, spoiler for the spoiler, the only connection that I can really think of is the fact that his last name is Griffin. So it's in the family.
Okay. So, yes, we're going to be doing the dark and highly disturbing Invisible Man from 2020. It is boy howdy, is it a dark movie.
It's a boy howdy.
This will be, per usual, as we've been doing during season 2 for any of our live streams. It will not be a full spoiler. It will be what we refer to as a spew.
Oh.
So we will be spewing.
No.
It's a real good spoiler review. We'll give you the points of the movie, but for the most part, we're really just going to be talking about how we react to the movie, how we feel about the movie, and we want you to join us in the chats. Like, jump on in. If you've already joined some of our live streams for season 2 so far, you know that we are communicating with you now versus where season 1, those were the episodes, so communication with the chat was minimal to none. Again, this podcast, we're the ones doing the talking, we're the ones doing the editing, we're the ones plugging things and pushing out everything and the content and doing all that. But this podcast truly and wholeheartedly, this is for you guys. Like, this is you ladies, gents, and non-binary friends out there. This podcast is yours. It's yours to do with what you want. It's yours to suggest what we can do, what we should do. And generally, I'll be honest, if you say, hey, do this, we're probably going to say yes. We have 1,000 ideas and a lot of things we want to do, but the number one thing we want to do is make sure that you're hearing and seeing the things that you want to hear and see. So let us know and join us on the 21st for our first live stream of 2024. And we'll be doing a movie that came out 4 years ago.
Well, Rob, that might be about the live stream, but can you tell us what's going to happen on our next episode that you can find on Spotify and Google Podcasts?
Yes. So Jason Michael's basically taken over this entire month with Universal Monsters, which is perfect and okay and great.
You selfish bastard.
But we're getting back into my final stretch of my personal top 3s. And so we will be
here a while with me.
Yeah, we will be doing 1988's Child's Play. Initially, I had said that we were going to be doing Child's Play 1 and 2 as a single episode, and I rewatch these movies every year.
That's a lot.
I fucking love these movies so much. And the only reason I had that thought was like, oh, we should just tie these together is because they're fucking connected. Like, the story just carries over. And Don Mancini does that throughout this entire Child's Play series, even though the Child's Play name drops off after 3 and we just jump into Chucky titled things.
Yeah.
I really think that this first movie deserves its own episode, and going off of that, every Child's Play movie deserves their own episodes.
It's been many, 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 many years since I watched Child's Play. Probably since I was a kid is the last time I saw this movie. So
wow.
It was quite a trip revisiting it, but also at the same point, I've never seen an entire other Child's Play. So this is going to be, you're going to be holding my hand through this whole adventure being like, look at all these things.
Yeah, I have.
Like I've seen some scenes, like I've seen some of the ending scenes. I vividly remember watching parts of 3, but explicitly the ending of 3 and how it made no sense to me. But at the same point, perfect.
I mean, honestly, my favorite ending of the titled, so 1 through 3, my personal favorite ending is 2. 2's got such a great ending to it.
2 is sick.
3 is unhinged as fuck, but it's so good anyway. But yeah, so technically it will be our last episode of the first month of the new year will be 1988's Child's Play. I am excited. I just broke Jason Michael. He just realized that the month is going to be over soon.
Fuck. That's actually a good thing. That means I'm closer to going to England.
Yep. I've got trips galore coming up, so I'm really excited. But
we're going to have episodes in the bag.
Jason Michael, before we end things, before we say our wonderful outro line, is there anybody that you would love to thank this week?
I would love to thank, of course, the ever popular and the ever wonderful you.
Oh,
You got a face over there wearing my headphones, and it's a good-looking face with some adequate-looking headphones. But
don't call me
again,
out on not having the proper gear.
it's okay. I'm wearing headphones from my electronic drum kit, so I don't have the proper gear either way. But of course, thank you as always. Like you having these ideas. At first, the original plan was to go through like the main 8. And it's like, okay, I feel like that's been done. So you had the idea for the offshoots of the Abbotts and Costellos, and like any of those offshoot movies. And I'm here for it. Again, I haven't watched these movies or these specific ones in like years, but especially when we get to future episodes, especially ones that are coming up, movies that I haven't seen in practically 20 years. So thank you very much for continuing to expand my horror knowledge and rehash some old horror memories.
Hell yeah.
I would like to thank my wonderful half over in England. I will be seeing her very, very soon. Very, very soon. And you know what? I mean, I've probably hinted to it enough, but I'll say it right now. In February, I'll be taking a 2-week vacation over to England, but we're not stopping content. Don't worry. We'll have some stuff that will be released during that time that I am away. And I will be visiting wonderful, wonderful things in England. But we're going to York, which apparently is like the most haunted city either in the UK or the world. So lots of things to look forward to there. Going to visit Whitechapel, which is not only the name of a super sick band. They named their band Whitechapel after the district Whitechapel because it's where Jack the Ripper did his deeds. But that's what I'm thankful for. Yeah.
Sweet.
Rob.
Yes.
Well, thanks you.
Well, I got to thank you. As you listeners have probably noticed, these episodes have been getting a little bit longer, which is hilarious to see them out there in the wild at the length they are. I would like you to just think behind the scenes how much editing is going in. Yeah, our recordings used to go from like, hey, we're going to sit down and record for like an hour and 30 minutes, and then it would get edited down to like an hour and like 10 minutes, sometimes under an hour. And now we're sitting down and we look back and we're like, wow, we just talked to each other for like 3.5 hours. That's ridiculous. And so I need to thank you for, with your busy schedule. I mean, we both have ridiculously busy schedules, but being able to actually get all of that done is amazing. With that, it gives me the opportunity to do things like make our Instagram a professional Instagram now. We are currently content creators. It gives me the opportunity to like get Facebook and get our Facebook up and running and started. I mean, we're still bare bones right now. It's giving me an opportunity to do a lot more to get the word out there and make the visuals look a lot better, not so shoestring. Thank you so much for doing that.
Of course.
Always, forever, just like you, as we always do. I need to thank my lovely partner just for being so amazing and supportive and cutting out time and making things work. This recording is not happening when it normally does. Not that anyone needs to know that, but we tried to record during our big New England snowstorm we had, and the Wi-Fi shit out. But
it did not work.
She made sure that things worked out so that I could record, and the record didn't happen. So we're recording way later than we normally do on a day that we never record right now. Mm-hmm. But so I need to thank her. And we have 2 more people that we always thank, and one that we've just recently started thanking. I need to thank Mr. Cyrene.
Mr. Cyrene!
Ryan is our guy behind the scenes. He is a wealth of ideas, constantly just thinking up things that we could do, that we should do, and giving us such amazing feedback. So we need to thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. You're awesome. We owe you a lot, to be completely honest, at this point.
He's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah. As always, we have to thank our wonderful sponsor, Anna, over at Willow Tree Kitchen. If you haven't yet, and at this point in time, I'd be shocked if you haven't, please just jump over to willowtreekitchen.com and order anything that she currently has. You can make cookies at home, man. Buy one of her batches of unmade cookies and make some cookies. Add some food dye. Make them green so you can eat some slime season slime cookies while listening to our podcast or while watching a live stream. Thank you so much, Anna. The one final last thing I'm going to say. This episode is coming out while I am actually in California the day after my brother from another mother's wedding. So I would like to send out a very, very special congratulations to Chachi and Maria. Congratulations, you two.
Yay!
On your marriage. I am so happy that I get to be there and I get to witness this. And I'm so happy to see somebody that I consider a brother and love so deeply finally find and be with the love of his life and somebody who treats him so well and just makes him so happy. So congratulations, Chachi. Congratulations, Maria.
Aww.
That all being said, until next week,
sleep tight, suckers. This is a boxing movie. It's a boxing movie.
It's a boxing movie.
Bye-bye.
Womp,
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Spoiler Sleepover. But the fun doesn't stop there. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Spoiler Sleepover. And be sure to check out our website, www.spoilersleepover.com, for more. That would be really fantastic of you. So until next time, sleep tight, suckers.
Spoiler Sleepover is sponsored by Willow Tree Kitchen.
Willow Tree Kitchen is a one-woman owned and operated bakery currently slinging delicious vegan cookies, mixes, and baked goods out of Kitchen Local in Amesbury, Mass.
Follow Willow Tree Kitchen _ on Instagram or go to their website at willowtreekitchen.com for more.